everyone, welcome to the RobBrod Report, version number 1, show à trois, coming from the man cave of the Broadhecker residence somewhere west of Six Flags. It was a busy weekend, not as busy compared to the weekend coming up, as there are 16 shows coming up this weekend, which is a hell of a lot. But I want to first run down the 2 shows that I attended this week. First was Friday night, made the long drive out to Royston, Georgia to attend the 13th anniversary show for Alternative Pro Wrestling. I did enjoy the show in spite of everything else, and I do recommend going back out there again. Hopefully they'll might have me. I'd be more than happy to attend again. This standout match was the main event of Jacob Ashworth versus Jeremy Vane, where if, Jacob Ashworth won, the evil commissioner, Jonathan Feltner, would move Alternative Pro Wrestling to Atlanta and leaving Royston behind. If Jeremy Vane won, APW would remain in Royston, and Mr. Vane would get Jonathan Feltner inside the cage for 5 minutes to do with as he pleases. Other than that, it was a show that I had absolutely no expectations going into. I only knew maybe 5 people on the card, but that was a solid B show for me, as if you read the reports from Georgia Wrestling History blogspot.com, Georgia Wrestling History.blogspot.com, or see the links that I post on the Facebook. You can see how I broke down the matches, because I think there was only one match I graded to see, and that's really because I wasn't too sure of the wrestlers involved. So it was perfectly serviceable match, but all the matches were B plus, several B pluses, I remember correctly. And the main event match was a slobber knocker and lived completely up to the hype, and which saw Jeremy Vane beating Jacob Ashworth. Both men bled heavily. For those who love the blood and guts, so that meant that Jeremy Vane got 5 minutes with the evil commissioner, Jonathan Feltner. Unfortunately for Mr. Vane, things did not work out the way they planned. Things seldom do in wrestling. And instead of Feltner tasting the cage, Mr. Vane was really set upon by the hordes of Feltner's fanatics, and they prevented Jeremy Vane friends from the back from saving him. So it was a brutal beatdown of Mr. Vane, and I hope he recovers. And even though Jacob Ashworth may have lost the battle, could say that Feltner won the war. So it was a very good show, and keep up the good work. The other show I attended to was the Georgia Pro Championship Wrestling out in Buckhannon, Georgia, Saturday night. This show, last time I was at that show was in June of 2019, and from all reports, they have steadily increased their crowd, and let me tell you, that crowd was hot. I'm talking flaming blue hot, and they were that way throughout the entire show. That's one of the shows where you realize the not the main event promotions in Georgia, but the middle of the pack shows can really put out some good shit, and was some good shit. To paraphrase Sir Charles Anschutz, sometimes you just like to see 2 fat guys hit each other overhead with trash cans. Well, in this case, it was 2 big guys slugging it out with a real slobber knocker. Saw more of Chris Cox than I really wanted to see, but that's beside the point. It was and the thing is, the crowd was eating it up, and I can't emphasize enough, if the crowd likes it, what else can you do? I'll guarantee you there'll be probably more people at their next show. Other shows on the card, and I like that. By the way, I do like how they brought in some new talent And the fans in West Georgia can be rather picky. In this case, they seem to embrace the Mountain King Nitrous. And he was in a 2-1 handicap match. That was the only thing I have to say about that. It was probably could have been shorter by a minute or two, but otherwise a very good match. And the SoFine Mafia, I have a video of it. I thought I posted, but it looks like I didn't. It's a 5-minute video, probably posted after this, of their entrance and walk around the ring. And the crowd never shut up for a second of it. And in fact, there are a couple instances where it wasn't for security, some altercations might have occurred. Guess what? That's kind of what you want, isn't it? Could I be wrong? Quite possibly. I'm a white male. I'm often wrong. So we'll see how that goes. But that was another great show, and it was highly entertaining. It was fun. I was smiling. I was laughing, and to get that kind of reaction from me from the whole night is pretty damn amazing. I'm very stoic. If you ever watch me watching the shows, I'm usually like this because I'm studying it. And for me to break out of that and have fun, that is really something. So, tip of the hat. We have, looking ahead this week, we've got 16 shows coming up. This is a packed weekend that extends out to Wednesday. Starting with Spinebuster in Valdosta, Georgia. I will be heading to that. If anyone wants to ride with me, plan on leaving around 2 o'clock. Get down there, get something to eat before the show. About a 4-hour drive, 4 hours back. So if you think you can put up with me for 8 hours, let me know. We'll ride down together. And that's Thursday. You have the WWA 4 student show off of Fulton Industrial Boulevard. Not in their not new location. They've been there for several years now, but it's not in the old Club Blacks location. Thank God for small favors. Also on Thursday, Wrestling for a Cause in Ringgold, Georgia, charity for the Children's Hospital of Erlanger, if I pronounced that correctly. Friday, Pro South in Piedmont, Alabama, PCW in Covington, Georgia, and this is where Gary Lane will tune out after I say this part. Southern Honor in Canton, Georgia. I'll be at that show. And, okay, Gary, you can now stop the video. I'm done talking about you. Saturday, a bunch of shows. Southern Fried, Monroe, Georgia. They call it Unfinished Business. Wrestling United in Franklin, Georgia. Peach State Wrestling Alliance. I will be at Peach State. That's in Villa Rica, at the Villa Rica Civic Center. Southern Violence and Wrestling in Athens, Georgia. In Augusta, Georgia, there's a doubleheader. Livewire is presenting a show, looks like at 4 o'clock, and Bushido starting their King of Bushido tournament at 7. So it's a doubleheader. If I don't know what else there is to do, go to the show, leave, have a nice dinner, come back, watch the other show. There's another charity show called Operation Lunch Box in Locust Grove at the high school there. And Renegade Championship Wrestling in Chatsworth. Their last show was a charity show, which I never saw anything about, but they drew over 500. So good for them on that. Let's see how many they can, of those 500 will transfer over to one of their regular shows. I'm hoping they can get a good bounce from that. The other notable show on tap is the 2-night Impact tapings in Atlanta at the Coca-Cola Roxy. That's on Friday and Saturday nights. And that's one of the big things is how much that will draw away from the other shows in the area. You know how much is Gary? I know Gary Lamb has publicly wondered, has speculated, I should say, that they'll have more people at the Southern Honor Show than they'll have at the Friday tapings of the Roxy. We'll see. That'll be interesting to get a crowd count from that. I believe I've got everything. So, short video this week. No, well, 10 minutes. So, I just want to thank everyone for a fun time this weekend, and I look forward to seeing people in 3 spots this week, including a first-time visit to Spinebuster. And like my new setup here, I got one of my old reflector lights from the my photo days set up, so I don't looking at the bright light from the flash on the phone. So that's a huge plus in my book. So I look forward to seeing everyone this week. Ramble, 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 ramble. Have a good day.